You think you own your cat, you think you rescued it, fed it, gave it a home out of kindness, and nothing more. But what if the relationship was engineered long before you were born? What if cats did not conquer humanity through strength, through usefulness, or even through charm? What if they did it through biology? Because hidden inside the modern house cat are 3 separate biological systems, 3 exploits that appear, when examined together, to be almost perfectly designed to bypass human defenses. One targets the brain, one targets the nervous system, and one turns your own immune system against you, and then overrides it with something stronger. This is not a pet story. This is a psychological thriller written by evolution itself. And right now, we open the files. File number 1, the dopamine. Hijack codename, toxoplasmosis. The organism is called Toxoplasma gondii. It is microscopic, invisible to the naked eye, and according to current estimates, it may already be living inside the brains of up to 1/3 of all humans on Earth, roughly 2.5 billion people, the majority of whom have no idea it is there. The parasite has a specific biological goal: reach a cat. Because cats are the only species on Earth where Toxoplasma gondii can fully reproduce. Every other host it infects, rodents, livestock, humans, is a biological dead end, a detour. A mistake the parasite's programming is desperate to correct, but there is a problem built into its own design. The parasite usually infects rodents first, and rodents are, by every hardwired survival instinct they possess, terrified of cats. So evolution built something that researchers, when they first observed it in laboratory settings, described as genuinely disturbing. A manipulation protocol. When laboratory mice infected with Toxoplasma gondii are exposed to cat scent, something that should be impossible happens. Their fear response, the ancient, survival-critical, deeply wired response that tells a rodent to run from a predator, begins to dissolve. And in its place, researchers documented something stranger. The infected mice do not simply lose their fear of cats. Some studies suggest they develop what can only be described as an attraction to feline scent. The predator becomes interesting.
You think you own your cat?
Fatal attraction, engineered at the cellular
level.
Are
you sure?
The mechanism appears to involve the amygdala, the brain's threat assessment and fear center, where the parasite seems to interfere with dopamine signaling. Dopamine is the neurotransmitter connected to reward, motivation, novelty seeking, and in certain configurations, compulsion. The leading hypothesis is that the parasite does not simply reduce fear. It flips fear into curiosity, rewires the emotional response to a mortal threat until the threat feels like something worth moving toward. Now, humans were never supposed to be part of this loop. We are evolutionary bystanders, accidental hosts that the parasite's programming never planned for. But we are in the loop regardless, through contaminated water, undercooked meat, unwashed vegetables, and exposure to cat feces. And here is where it becomes genuinely uncomfortable. Studies have linked toxoplasmosis in humans to measurable changes in personality: increased risk-taking, reduced fear response, impulsivity. Researchers have explored statistical associations with schizophrenia, OCD, and bipolar disorder. One study found that people involved in traffic accidents were significantly more likely to carry the parasite than the general population. Another found that the behavioral changes in infected humans closely mirror the behavioral changes in infected rodents. A dulling of threat perception, a pull toward risk, an ancient neurological exploit written by evolution for a rodent, running, partially, imperfectly, but measurably, inside 2.5 billion human brains. And if that sounds disturbing, the next file removes any remaining sense of safety. File number 2, the frequency breach. You believe your cat meows because it wants food, because it is communicating in the only way available to it. You believe the sound is simple, unintentional, biological. The evidence suggests something considerably more sophisticated. Domestic cats, unlike virtually every other non-human mammal on Earth, did not evolve to meow at each other. Wild cats and feral cats almost never vocalize this way among themselves. The meow, specifically the domestic cat meow, is a sound that appears to have been developed, refined, and optimized over thousands of years of cohabitation, with one specific audience, us, and what researchers discovered when they studied the acoustic structure of this sound should make you pause the next time you hear it at 3 in the morning, hidden within the vibration. of a cat's cry, specifically what scientists call the solicitous purr, is an embedded high-frequency signal, a sound within the sound. It sits between roughly 300 and 600 Hertz, which happens to be precisely the frequency range that the human auditory system is biologically hardwired to respond to with the fastest, most visceral, most overriding urgency. It is the
You
frequency
think
of a
you
crying
own your
infant,
cat.
not approximately, not
Are
coincidentally.
you sure?
Within the same acoustic range that millions of years of evolution have calibrated the human nervous system to treat as an emergency. When you hear your cat cry at 3 in the morning, your logical brain knows what it is, but deeper, older systems in your brain, the ones that predate reason, the ones that operated long before language existed, hear something different. They hear distress. They hear dependency. They hear a sound that historically meant a child needed help right now. And those systems do not wait for your conscious agreement before they respond. This is not random. Researchers believe this frequency alignment was not designed in any intentional sense, but it was selected for. Cats that happened to vocalize in this range got faster responses from humans, got fed sooner, got more attention and comfort and care. Those cats survived and reproduced at higher rates. Their kittens inherited the tendency, and over 10,000 years of living beside humans, the domestic cat's voice was shaped by human biology into something that human biology cannot easily ignore. It is a frequency attack disguised as a cuddle. And by the time you have realized what is happening, chemistry has already stepped in to make sure you do not care. File number 3, the immunological paradox. Codename: FALD1, the protein is invisible. It travels through cat saliva, spreads through fur, rises through skin cells that shed into the air with every movement the cat makes. You breathe it in without knowing. It settles on surfaces throughout your home. It has a half-life that outlasts the cat's physical presence in a room by hours, and for a significant portion of the human population, the immune system identifies FALD1 as a biological threat, a foreign invader. It sounds every alarm in the defensive system. Histamines flood, mucous membranes swell, eyes water, lungs tighten. The body is doing exactly what it was designed to do. It is trying to reject the cat. And yet, tens of millions of people who are medically, measurably documented in writing allergic to cats continue to live with them anyway. They take medication to be near them. They modify their homes, their routines, their sleeping arrangements to accommodate an animal their own immune system classifies as a threat. Ask them why, and the answer, almost universally, is some version of the same thing. I love my cat. Here is why that answer makes biological sense, even when it sounds irrational. Because at precisely the same time the immune system is fighting the cat, a second system is activating in response to the cat's presence. Oxytocin, the bonding hormone associated with love, trust, and deep emotional attachment, rises measurably during physical contact with a cat. Dopamine rises. The neurochemical signature of affection and reward floods the same brain that is simultaneously receiving distress signals from the immune system. Two completely opposite biological messages, arriving at the same time, in the same body. The immune system says, "Remove this organism." The brain says, "I would rather not." And in this specific contest, across tens of millions of documented cases, the brain wins. Not occasionally, consistently, overwhelmingly, this is not a personality quirk. It is not irrationality. It is a biological override. The bonding system, which evolution developed to be extremely difficult to suppress because social attachment is survival critical, overpowering a defensive system that, in this particular context, is simply outmatched. Some researchers have found that repeated exposure can even alter immune responses over time. The body slowly recalibrates, not because the threat has changed, but because the emotional reward of proximity keeps overriding the alarm until the alarm learns. Gradually, to speak more quietly, the addiction deepens. The biology adapts. The cat stays. The review: 3 files, 3 systems, 3 exploits, each targeting a different layer of human biology. File 1. A microscopic parasite that may have been quietly adjusting the fear and reward systems of human brains for millennia. 2.5 billion potential hosts, most of them unaware. File 2. A sound frequency so precisely calibrated to human parental instincts that the nervous system responds to a hungry cat with the same urgency it would bring to a crying child. File 3. A chemical bond powerful enough to override the immune system's active rejection of the animal producing it, not occasionally, not in edge cases, but as a documented, repeatable, consistent biological phenomenon. Individually, you could explain any one of these away. Coincidence, evolutionary accident, quirk of biology,